The connection between Saudi Arabia and the US is by all accounts in a troublesome position, with the two nations feeling disregarded. However, neither needing to break ties. Israel needs to have better relations with Saudi Arabia. However, it's hard in light of the fact that they need to rely upon the US to help them nearby. This can be a difficult problem for Israel. The recent coordinated production cut in output of over 1 million barrels a day, led by Saudi Arabia, has caused a stir in the oil industry. Analysts have debated whether this was a slap in the face to the Biden administration's recent overtures to China, or simply Saudi Arabia protecting its interests. The unexpected move surprised many and was quickly dismissed by President Biden. As a result of the news, Brent crude, which is the international benchmark, rose from trading at around $75 to $85 a barrel within 10 days, catching most observers off guard. President Biden referred to the cut as a poke in the eye. The relationship between President Biden and Saudi Arabia started on a negative note. When Biden was running for president in 2020, he promised to make sure that Saudi Arabia takes responsibility for the killing of a journalist named Jamal Khashoggi. The United States found out that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved the killing. But in the summer of 2022, it seems like something has changed. Despite the high inflation and gas prices reaching over $5 per gallon, President Biden visited Jeddah and greeted the Saudi leader with a fist bump. Although he denied requesting the Saudis to produce more oil, 3 months later, the Saudi decided to reduce production. The Biden administration's recent decision to not refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve during the decline in oil prices may have influenced the Saudi decision. As the oil costs dipped under $80 per barrel, Saudi Arabia's income was fundamentally impacted. The country produces a lot of oil and sells it at a low price. This means they have a lot of power over how much oil costs all over the world. Furthermore, the recent banking crisis in the US and fears of a possible recession that could slow global growth were additional concerns for Saudi Arabia. It is evident that this was a strategic mistake by the Biden administration, as the oil geopolitical situation is getting more intriguing. While the narrative of the Saudis sending a rude gesture to Biden may be simple to comprehend, there could be more to the story. The reasons behind their actions may have a lot to do with Saudi Arabia's shifting geopolitical status and its own internal requirements. Back in the time of the Cold War, Saudi Arabia, similar to heaps of different countries, considered the world a landmark between two strong nations, the US and the Soviet Union. But today, they want to make new friends outside of just picking sides based on who has the strongest military. BCA research claimed on Tuesday following the announcement that the most recent OPEC 2.0 production cuts are an assertive preemptive reaction to potential supply-side price weakness. We believe it is intended to counter the forceful monetary policy actions by systematically important central banks led by the Fed and the Biden administration's apparent reluctance to refill the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's most recent move notably emphasizes the shift in KSA's economic and political policies, which now prioritize Saudi interests above everything else. This move will only serve to further exacerbate the divide between KSA and the United States. Saudi Arabia is at present going through an enormous modernization exertion, depending intensely on monetary and specialized help from China, which has expanded much more since China's new intercession between Saudi Arabia and Iran. On Tuesday, the heads of Saudi Arabia and Iran met in Beijing to discuss opening government offices and departments in one another's nations without precedent for 3 years. China helped bring them together again last month. This gathering is significant for China's international strategy, yet we couldn't say whether it will make oil costs go up to $100 per barrel. Many oil experts anticipate a rise in oil prices due to Saudi-led cutbacks set to take effect in May, which could coincide with peak gasoline demand during the U.S. summer driving season. The United States might face a recession this year because of some signs. The signs include more people losing their jobs and the manufacturing sector getting smaller. Additionally, the bond yields are decreasing. This would decrease the demand for energy, or at least keep its growth in check despite a growing economy. The government made a revision to the weekly unemployment claims data on Thursday, revealing that the labor market may have started to soften earlier than previously anticipated. This has been a worry of numerous financial specialists who have been cautioning that the Federal Reserve's forceful money-related strategy through fast loan fee climbs could cause a downturn. In America, the quantity of individuals who have been applying for joblessness helps consistently has been going up for quite a long time. Presently, it's at the most noteworthy it's been since the second 7-day stretch of January. In addition, there has been a drop in job openings and a decline in hiring, as observed by private job firms like ZipRecruiter, indicating an end to the hiring surge. Furthermore, layoffs continue to climb, and the manufacturing report shows a decrease in the employment component from 49.1 to 46.9 in March, placing it well into contractionary territory. Apart from the job market, consumer spending has declined for 3 out of the last 4 months, and the recent banking crisis is among the reasons why hiring is slowing down. Overall, the weakening in job opportunities, which is typically considered one of the final areas of the economy to falter prior to a recession, has the potential to decrease the desire for oil as time passes. This factor may have also been taken into account by the Saudis when they unexpectedly acted to strengthen the markets this week. An American official paid a visit to Saudi Arabia recently. The CIA director under the Biden administration, William J. Burns, went to the country and engaged in conversations with key Saudi representatives. During their talks, they touched on common interests and reinforced our dedication to collaborating on intelligence matters, particularly in the field of counterterrorism. Many observers are speculating that the recent increase in oil production by the Saudi Crown Prince, also known as MBS, is an endorsement of former U.S. President Donald Trump. While MBS has shown a preference for Republicans, he has also been building relationships with members of the GOP. For example, in February, MBS hosted Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and a group of prominent GOP senators. Furthermore, the Saudi government recently had an extravagant event in Miami, which was hosted by Republican Mayor Francis Suarez, an ally of Governor Ron DeSantis, who was one of Trump's rivals. Despite these actions, MBS has not completely abandoned its loyalty to Trump, who, he claims, helped him after the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The Saudi government's money savings account has put lots of money into the live golf tour. This golf tour has been advertising Trump's golf resorts. Moreover, they have put more than $2 billion into an organization overseen by Jared Kushner, who is Trump's child in regulation and used to be his top counsel. I think that when it comes to MBS, the Chinese government has probably responded calmly to the recent Saudi rejection. This is different from their reaction when the Saudi kingdom drastically reduced production last October, which angered Chinese officials. Last March, the Prince of crude oil was cheap. It was around $80 per barrel, and even went down to a low point that hadn't been seen in 15 months. This is important to remember. Analysts predicted that prices would fall further, perhaps even below $70. In situations like this, the Saudis typically cut production in response. The Biden administration is optimistic that prices will stabilize around the mid-80s, and that any economic impact will be minimal. However, if prices increase and go above $100 per barrel, it's unclear what actions the administration could take. Given President Biden's stance, it's unlikely that this Saudi leader would do any favors for him. I hold great admiration for China's recent 5-year plan, which has placed a strong emphasis on energy security and stability in acknowledgement of its crucial role in economic development. During this same period, Saudi Arabia's relationship with Russia has also been intensifying. Following the 2014 to 2016 oil price war, the U.S. shale oil sector became a highly efficient oil-producing machine that could survive even when oil prices were as low as $35 per barrel. In contrast, Saudi Arabia's budget break-even price was over $84 per barrel, which put it at a disadvantage when competing with the U.S. Saudi Arabia was in a difficult situation and desperately needed to increase oil prices to repair its budget. Unfortunately, its credibility has been undermined by its disastrous second oil price war, which had been the first crisis since the 1973 oil crisis. As a result, Saudi Arabia was unable to push oil prices back up by itself. In late 2016, Russia stopped in to support the OPEC Plus production cuts, which aimed to increase oil prices to a level that allowed OPEC members to begin to repair their finances. The support has continued ever since and has formalized into the OPEC Plus grouping. Russia and China have shown their ability to leverage such relationships effectively, as they have been doing in the Middle East since the US withdrew from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with Iran in 2018, Syria in 2019, and Afghanistan and Iraq in 2021. Finally, I would love to hear your opinion on Saudi-US relations. Please share your thoughts below.